Welcome into another episode of Fully Unscripted. I'm Todd Lanner, he's Cash Daniel, and joining us now, after leaving us hanging last week, is Marcus Lee, who has recovered from illness from eating that raw kangaroo down there. I think that's illegal. You got to quit doing that. But thank you for joining us so early in the morning down on the other side of the world. Appreciate you taking the time finally. It's been tough to find a schedule that makes sense considering it's, 7 a.m. there?
Yeah, 7 a.m. here. 7 a.m. here, bright and early.
Bright and early. You got practice in a bit, right?
Yep, about to head there in a few. Had to jump on the call with you to make it up.
Appreciate you, bud. There's a crazy delay because it's going all the way to the other side of the planet, literally. I wonder how many miles apart we are. I'm going to look that up here in a second. But
go ahead.
Tell us a little bit about your journey. I mean, obviously, Kentucky fans will remember you from being a Wildcat. Actually, they're going to remember you for being my teammate. But thank you for your time here. Then you headed out to Cal, graduated, and took your talents overseas. So recently, I know you have signed with a new team and made your way quite literally across the planet. So tell us a little bit about that journey, what this new team's looking like, and getting to have your fiance join you down there.
It's been a wild year this year. Starting in Spain, playing with a new team, and then totally changing teams, changing literally everything, where you are, how the weather is, because right now it's summer. So I'm in summer while you guys are in winter. So that's a huge thing for me that I hope I can keep. But
I looked at coming to fly down there to see you, by the way. And do you know how much flights are?
Oh yeah, I know how much flights are because I flew Amber down. It was like,
how much you think a flight is down there to get down there? Hang on, Marcus. Don't say it yet.
Well, I don't know because
just take a guess.
Okay.
And then multiply it by 4.
$2,000.
$12,000 to go see him.
Well, I mean, it is like an 18-hour flight.
It's still $12,000.
Yeah, and
that's insane. And that's not even like an upgraded seat that lays all the way down.
Well, I know my dad, he went to Sydney, Australia for one of his work events back in the day, and they had to take an Airbus down there, and he said that was literally one of the worst experiences of his life, even though, like, you could get up and, like, go to, like, different floors of the plane and shit like that. Like, he said like that he will never, ever do that again, probably.
It's crazy. How far was the flight from Spain?
So I went Spain to Dubai, which was, I want to say, 8 hours, and then Dubai to here was, I think, close to 18. So it was it was by far the longest trip I've had ever. And it was something that happened literally sporadically, where I just
Did you spend any time in Dubai while you were there?
Yeah, I was there for 5 hours.
Oh, so no, didn't get to hang out. I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. The delay is pretty crazy, but we're gonna fight through it either way. All right, so tell me a little bit about the team. I know you're down there. Isaac Humphreys is your teammate. Love that guy. Got to spend a lot of time around him at Derek's wedding. I know you obviously were a teammate with him as well. I'm just thankful that I mean, unless you walk it back on me, I'm just thankful that I get to officiate the wedding instead of him, because I feel like he'd probably do a better job. He could be the chorus and the aficionado all at once. Aficionado. Yeah. That's amazing.
For the wedding, we really wanted to make our friends enjoy the time the best they wanted to, and I didn't want anybody working besides you.
Marcus and Amber told me that I could officiate their wedding, which I know that's a big word for you. That means marry them. I get to play the pastor. And I'm just trying to figure out how much fun I want to have with it. And, when you decide to propose to your girlfriend,
Nope. What girlfriend?
Okay, just making sure. I'll do yours too, free of charge.
Free of charge?
Free of charge.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking of having like Bruce Buffer do mine, but you'll be a close second, I guess.
Okay, tell me about this team, Marcus. What are y'all looking like? What point in the season are you at? What's it like being back out on the floor with Isaac?
So we have a month left until playoffs. So our season is almost over. I'll be home really early this year, but I think this is a really great team. I think we just got all of our pieces together. We've had injuries happen. I just flew in. So we're just now connecting, and now we're fighting to get in the playoffs. And I think that's a really
Mm-hmm.
big scary thing for us because I think if we had this team the whole year, I think we would have been blowing teams out here.
Yeah, I can understand the uphill battle you're fighting. I mean, thing with professional sports, especially with overseas, is the rosters are constantly changing. So being able to jive, even in the NBA, it shifts a little bit, but obviously overseas, it's a much more pronounced issue. And getting on the same page with your teammates and learning how the coach and the coaching style. I mean, you're in an entirely different league. It's not like you just got traded within the same league. You're in an entirely different, place with entirely not different rules, but different schematics and the way that the game is played. So that's a whole different set of challenges that you're faced with when you're playing overseas ball. So I certainly respect the ability that you have to kind of change up the way that you're played and the way that you're used within any given roster. But tell me a little bit about the differences that you see maybe in the league that you're in now versus where you were in Spain.
I really love the way this league has been doing it. They've really tried to go one for one mimic of the NBA, organizational wise, and as a league as a whole. You can definitely see the difference of how they take things professionally. They have a players association. Everything's just so organized from your practice schedules to days off to travel. Everything is literally just on point here. Instead of when you go overseas into Europe, you don't know your day to day. You don't know if you're getting paid on time. You don't know if you're where you're practicing, and it makes things so much harder mentally just trying to get through those days. But here, everything's been so smooth.
That's awesome. That certainly makes your job easier. Tell me a little bit about what it's like being literally on the other side of the planet. A lot of, I know that your job for the most part remains the same. You're going to do your lifts and your workouts and all that stuff. But I can see how being in Spain and how that living environment works. I've spent time over there on vacation. I know that side of the world. I've never been down under. What's your favorite meal? What is what's your day look like? Give me a little bit of a landscape of what you're dealing with while you're overseas working.
So I guess the hardest thing to deal with is again getting contacting your friends and family because they're all way on different. I think you're on Wednesday and I'm already on Thursday. So that's the biggest thing to deal with. And then I think most of my day to day is almost the exact same. Where the States is pretty similar when it comes to buildings and housing. Out here in Australia, the housing are really up to date, and they're beautiful, brand new built apartments and housing out here. They drive on the left side, so it's something you gotta get used to, which is hard. Um, Something you definitely couldn't
Yeah.
do right now.
Like left side of the road or like left side of the side of the car?
Both.
So
Wow,
that'd be bad.
Wait,
You
no.
no.
They drive on the right side of the car, left side
The
of the
left
road.
side of the road. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's completely confusing every
both are
morning
flipped.
when you're getting in a car and you hop in the car and the driving wheel is not on that side.
That's I mean the fact that both are flipped makes sense, but that's definitely an uphill battle. Do you drive much there? You don't have a vehicle, right?
No, I have a vehicle. I've driven every day I've been here. They gave me like a week to figure it out, and then they just threw me to the wolves.
So did you have to buy a vehicle yourself?
No, so when it comes to overseas basketball, they'll pay for your apartment, they'll pay for your car, and all that'll be settled and ready when you get there.
Yeah, I figured. I mean, I know that they do everything else, but you didn't have a vehicle in Spain, did you?
I had a vehicle in Spain. Yeah, I had a Audi.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll just pull my foot out of my mouth. You never showed me the whip, bro. Speaking of never doing anything for me, I don't have any gear.
How am I going to send you gear all the way from the other side of the world? Please answer these questions.
I mean,
First off, how about him just like demanding that?
I'm a
Like,
gear
like
smut. He knows
like
this.
he's entitled for you to send him gear.
Am I or am I not a gear smut? I'm not as bad as Hoodie or Kyle Wiltshire, but I'm pretty bad.
You are the first person I see when I land in Kentucky. Be happy with that.
That's true. That's true. I'll tell you what. You bring me a hoodie or a shirt, and I will have you a fully unscripted sweatshirt when you land.
That's all I ask.
You're gonna need it. It's gonna be cool here, and I know you don't have any warm clothes anymore.
Oh, I don't. I really don't. I have a hoodie for the mornings here, and then that's it. Usually, it goes straight to shorts and tank tops.
Yeah, you got to travel light. I mean, you're moving all over the planet. You got to be able to travel light. I want to hear your favorite meal. Tell me your favorite meal down there.
So since we're pretty close to Asia, a lot of their food is Asian inspired, which is really great. But like they have a lot of Michelin chefs out here. We've been trying a lot of crazy meals with Isaac. Um, but honestly, I don't think I've had a bad meal here, which is insane. But they do, yeah. So it's a
What
lot of
city are
like
you in
Asian
exactly?
rolls. I'm in Melbourne.
Melbourne. Okay.
Yep.
I'm trying to see how far exactly we are apart.
I think it's like 10,000 some miles.
That's insane.
You
Something
could
like
just
that.
look at your,
Yep,
find your.
9,768 miles. Do
I
what?
can tell you exact. I can tell you exact on your Find My locations.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too.
Nine
That's
thousand seven
crazy.
hundred seventy-one.
That's crazy.
Well, Marcus, I'm not a big basketball connoisseur. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not, especially with overseas basketball. Like I said, we respect everything you guys do over there. My buddy plays for one of my buddies I used to play against in high school. He played and he played at WKU. He started off in Italy, then transferred. Got traded to a team in Germany. And we're talking about like how the league set up there for you guys in Australia. What are some of the big differences? Like you said you came from Spain. What are some of the biggest differences you see between the league that you see there in Australia and what you've been used to and accustomed to in Spain?
So I've played in leagues in most leagues in Europe. So I think there's just the professionalism as a whole, and then basketball wise, I think it's pace. Um, European basketball is a lot more slow and strategic, where over here it's more like the NBA, where there's a lot of great players that can score at all points in time. So you're constantly trying to play. I want to say like a fast-paced chess, where you just keep going over and over, and it's the scores out here are like up to 100 and 120. Where in Europe you're like getting a 60-point game and an 80-point game. So I think it's the difference between college
Mhm.
basketball and NBA basketball, but both with skilled
Luka's
players.
famous for saying, yeah. So Luka is famous for commenting on how much easier it is to score in the NBA than it is overseas, just because of the changes in rules and how much tighter the lane can be and things like that. From your time that you spent in the league and in the G League, and now, building your career overseas, do you second that?
Yeah, for sure. It's a whole lot. One that you're not getting screamed at once your opponent scores every time in the NBA. It's like, all right, well, let me go try to score again down on the other side of the court. Where in Europe, every point matters, every defensive stop matters. Like they take things every possession so seriously, and that's only because you get so
Mm-hmm.
many fewer possessions. And I think that's the biggest thing is that it's not that they play defense harder. It's just that in Europe they care more about each possession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can tell that the league has leaned a lot more towards put as many points on the board. It's definitely an offensive driven league. Whereas Europe, it's the rules are literally built different to make it tougher to score. So it's certainly a sentiment that you can see as you watch a ball game. So I know you got to get ready and run to practice. It's been a pleasure getting to talk to you again. You owe me a FaceTime call, but it's a lot more difficult to connect with the time difference, obviously. But I want to leave you with this, or ask you to answer this as we head out. I know, as we've talked about, it's difficult to watch the Cats play with the time difference, and obviously you're a professional that's focused on your own craft. You don't necessarily, get to watch every minute of the Cats anymore, but you've been able to follow kind of what's going on this season and some of the struggles they've had. I don't know if you actually know about this or not, but recently Cal brought on our former teammate Tyler Eulis onto the staff as a student assistant while he finishes his degree. He took to the bench last week against Louisville for his first game against Kenny Payne, and then was on the bench last night for the first SEC game of the year at home. With a guy like Severe, who's an All-American point guard that's got a similar size and makeup as Tyler, how beneficial, from what we know about Tyler and the role that he played, kind of as an extension of the coaching staff on the floor for our teams, how beneficial do you think he can be, and why?
I think extremely. He's probably he's one of the smartest point guards I've seen go through college basketball, hands down. Like, for someone to be there and kind of guide these young guys to be a tough basketball player and a smart basketball player at the same time, I think that's something that kind of Kentucky basketball has been missing, is that toughness, that grittiness of no matter what, we're winning this game. And that's kind of what you really saw with all the great Kentucky teams, is they're tough, but they're also really smart with it. And I think that's a great thing to have, especially when you're a smaller guard, is you gotta act like you're a 7 foot 250 person. And Tyler did that every day he walked onto the court. And I think that's going to be something that really adds to this team, is that knowledge that Tyler has to bring to the league. Also, did you notice that they got black uniforms? What is this nonsense, black uniforms?
I know. We wanted him so bad, and he didn't entertain it at all.
Yeah, so I wonder what...
We'll have to get a hold of some. Those throwback uniforms that they just wore last night, I don't know if you saw it. I'll send you a picture, but the throwbacks that they wore last night, and they wore them against Louisville too, I believe.
The white and blue with the blue like cross on the shorts. I don't know if they're cross.
Yeah, they have the vertical UK on the shorts.
Yeah, I want a pair of those shorts.
Love that. Yeah, I'll see if I can track some down for us. I'll have them waiting on you when you get back. Since you're right about the gear, it'll cost more to send it than it does to actually have it made. So,
right.
Love you, buddy. I miss you. Can't wait for you to get back. Tell the wife hi, or the fiance hi for me. Miss her too. And we will see you very shortly. Selfishly, I hope you all lose early in the playoffs so you can make it back home soon. But other than that, go out there and get some wins. Keep putting up numbers. Tell Isaac what's up. And I appreciate you taking the time, buddy.
Oh, no worries. I'll be home for Derby, so we'll definitely do something for Derby this year.
Oh, I already know that. You're not leasing out, or you're not renting out the Airbnb in Louisville, are you?
Oh no, we're not staying at our place for the Derby, but we'll stay somewhere else.
Yeah, I know. Marcus has a big place in Louisville that they've built and renovated and everything else that he's going to Airbnb for Derby. I've been trying to convince him not to put it on the market and let us use it for Derby, but I think it's too much of an investment at this point, don't you?
Yeah, just a little bit. We just need to see it do good for a little bit, then we can start using
it. All right, bud. Tell Amber hi.
All right, I'll talk to y'all later.
Thanks to Marcus for joining us. We apologize for the kind of shaky conversation. That delay is going 10,000 miles across the planet. I've never seen Riverside have a delay before, and Brandon said he hadn't either, but that's a long...
Well, I mean, you're literally on the other side of the planet, so... How
spoiled are we? Yeah, we're like, we have to wait... We have to wait half a second for him to hear me?
I was literally, so one question I didn't get to ask him was that, like, culturally, like, when you got down there... So like here, you know, we have the fuck is his? I literally just had on tip of my tongue. If I wasn't going to talk about this, I'd already know the answer to it. But I wonder do they look at Steve Irwin like we do most of our, like, iconic, heroes here?
Probably. I mean, Steve Irwin's kind of an icon here too.
I think he's an icon, like a world. Like, I think he's like one of the more like world-renowned icons.
So, does he have like a statue there or something?
I would imagine that he'd have to. You would think, of all the great things he's done, not only for Australia but for the world itself. But I was going to ask him if it's like, comparing him to like Chuck Norris here in the United States. I
should have asked Marcus. I can't believe I didn't think about this, but if he has gone to visit 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
What's that?
Too young. You know, don't you? What? Parker. What? Do you know what 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney is? No. It's the address.
You got to remember, you're like the oldest dude in this room by like 50.
He's older than I am.
You're the oldest one in this room by like 15 years.
But you might have missed it. You were probably too old at the time the movie came out.
I'm going to have to get
And you were too young when it came out. But the goggles, like in Nemo, Dory can't remember anything. And the goggles have the address that they need to find on it when it falls off the boat when Nemo disappears. And so she keeps repeating it. 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
So I didn't pay that much attention to Nemo.
You don't have to pay that much attention. We're going to have a... I hate you. We're gonna put a poll up.
One or two.
We're gonna put a poll up on social media after this as to who can name that address immediately off the tip of their tongue. Everybody, I bet, within a 3-year age gap of me can do it.
And where it's from? Like what movie it's from?
100%.
Okay.
100%. I promise you, everybody within a 3-year gap of me will be able to do it. I did have younger sisters too, so when that came out, I don't know when it was. Let's say it was 2000. I was 9 years old, and my younger sister was 6. So she watched it on repeat. So I'm a little bit of a unique case, but I'm pretty shocked that you don't know what that means.
You are a pretty unique head case.
42 Wallaby Way. I'm going to text Marcus right now, see what he says, just to prove my point.
Getting back to a little bit of sports, obviously we had a lot of happen in the sport of football this week. We had some great bowl games. Mississippi State honored Mike Leach, beating Illinois in their bowl game. The Packers won. Now, obviously, they got to win next week against Detroit to make the playoffs, which I do believe Aaron Rodgers will absolutely go berserk and beat the Detroit Lions. But, obviously, the thing that everybody's been talking about this week is the tragedy that we saw on Monday night. And it was hands down the scariest thing that I've ever seen, not only in football, but in sports in general. And I know we've had a conversation about it, through our group text about it. Like, I watched that happen, and it literally still had me shook a couple days afterwards.
I know we know what you're talking about.
Yeah, obviously.
But this is coming out on Friday.
Yeah, this is coming out on Friday. So obviously everybody here knows Damar Hamlin from the Buffalo Bills. Cardiac arrest on the field from an impact hit that literally looked like the most routine of routine tackles of all time. Got in position. T. Higgins lowered his shoulder, and it wasn't that impactful of a hit. I mean, it's just, I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm not read into it or anything like that. But, you see him make the tackle, everything's fine. He gets up, and then you just see him instantly just fall back on his face. And that was, having to have immediate CPR on the field, not responding, and the reactions of not only his teammates, but Cincinnati team as well. I mean, grown men out there literally in shambles and in tears to see what happened to their brother. And, in the game of football, injuries is something that's known. At the end of I've said this before, what you sign up for, but you don't sign up for that. That there's a chance of you to have a torn ligament, a broken bone, a massive, concussion, different things like that. And, the attitude, toward football, especially on the defensive side of things, is that you have to have the mindset of, I'm going to, I'm like I said before in episodes before, I'm not literally comparing this to war in itself because, it's clearly night and day. But you have to have the mentality of going out there and saying, I'm willing to die for this, in a sense. I'm putting my body and my life on the line, for my brothers and for this game. But when something like that happens, it honestly takes you back. And like, even in the tweet that I had, when I sent out, is like, life is so much more important than just a game. Guys getting paid, a king's salary to play a simple kids game. And it's sad. And I'm praying that he pulls through. Updates that we've had today. So this is Wednesday. Obviously this episode drops on Friday. So I'm hoping we have some more good news by the time this episode drops, but, they got his vitals back to normal, that night, but he was still unable to breathe on his own. But that's now down to 50% help on the oxygen machine. I can only imagine, or I can't imagine, what his family's going through, his friends, his loved ones, his teammates, people in general. This one has people shook, and it's something that you would never imagine that you would see on a football field. Like, you would imagine, like, if somebody said, yeah, you're going to see, a couple blown out ACLs, you're going to see a couple broken bones, you're going to see guys get carted off the field. And you've seen some of the scariest stuff on a football field, and people know it is a dangerous game. It is by far probably the most dangerous game you can play, dangerous sport that you can play, because each year athletes are getting bigger, faster, stronger, more explosive. And I don't know if it's something that you can do to change in the equipment to help with that. I really don't know the answer to that, but, my thoughts and prayers to Damar Hamlin, his family, his teammates, his friends, his loved ones. And I pray to God that he pulls through, because that's something that you don't sign up for in the game of football. Like, you've seen guys get carted off with traumatic head injuries and be able to give the thumbs up, like, I'm going to be okay. And for something like that to happen, you just never would have thought that you would see something like that. And it's just unbelievably sad. It's so unbelievably just unfortunate that it happened. And honestly, as I'm talking about right now, like, it's still shaking. It's like I'm still kind of shook up about it, just because, like, I was talking to my dad about it, and he was telling me, like, and I'm not making this about myself at all. This is all, thoughts and prayers to Damar Hamlin and his family, but just coming from, a father's perspective of watching his son play football. He said the scariest thing for him was me making a tackle and then seeing if I get up and I'm okay. Like, and after that, like, in that short time span, he would know that, okay, he's good. He's good to go. And I've had a couple people ask me, will you allow your son to play football? And that's a question that I've even asked myself for a long time, just because of the injuries that I've had through concussions and how it's changed me as a person. I can honestly say that I'm not the same person that I was when I was 16 years old. Obviously, things change in life. You get older, your mentality changes. You grow up a little bit. I'm not there yet. I'm almost grown up, but I'm getting there. But especially, the biggest thing that I've seen from me is my personality, and how my thought process is, and my the way I handle emotion and different things of that nature, to where it's almost like I'm having to reprogram my brain almost to be normal again and be more lively, be more, energetic, be more personable, in a certain degree. But to answer that question that people have asked me, will I allow my kids to play football? I will, but they're not hitting until they reach the middle school level. Like, there's no godly reason why we should have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids in full gear out there bashing heads. Like your brain, I'm not a doctor, but from what I've read, your brain is not even fully developed until you're 21 years of age. So what logical sense does it make to have 6 and 7-year-olds out there, bashing heads? And we've seen videos on social media and things of, kids doing drills and them just getting absolutely shit rocked. Like, what do you think that does, for a kid moving forward in his life, and his brain is literally still jelly, still not even fully developed? And don't get me wrong, I love the game of football. If it wasn't for football, I wouldn't have half of the things in my life that I have now. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I wouldn't be sitting here with Brandon. I wouldn't have some of the opportunities that I've had in life from the game of football. I don't think football should be taken away in any sense, but there has to be something to where we protect lives rather than continue to build on the stigma of having to start football at such an early age. Like, I understand we should be putting kids through, footwork drills, dummy drills, different things like that. Teach them how to cut. Teach them how to properly tackle on a tackling dummy. But going back to what we saw on Monday night, like, that is just something that you thought that you would never see in the game of football. And it's just like, as I'm talking about it, like, it's just so shocking, to be quite honest with you, that we did see something like that. And again, just I hope and pray that Damar Hamlin pulls through. It's a sad situation. It really is. And and I know that, we talked about it, in our group text of, what football, does, for kids, and I can say don't get me wrong, I'm an advocate for football. I think football changes lives. It changes lives one way or another, just like anything in life. There's a yin and a yang to everything in life, and the decisions that you make have a consequence. So when you have kids that, and like I was telling Brandon, 90%, I'm not a fucking statistician or anything, but football and athletics is a way for kids to make it out of current situations that they're in. I've known so many teammates that was in that locker room with me that come from some of the roughest areas, in the country. And you've heard so many people that have made it to the league that are Hall of Famers, that are, renowned superstars in the sport, saying that if it wasn't for football, I'd be dead or in jail. And so it gives life for kids and gives them dreams and hopes and aspirations. But at what cost? To put not only your body and your physical health on the line, but your mental health as well. We've seen the studies of CTE as science progresses throughout years. We've seen guys take their lives because they can't handle the mental struggle that they go through caused by CTE. And I'm not, and I know we've joked around about it before, and I guess that's kind of my humor, is that if you try to laugh about it, it doesn't make it seem as bad.
Coping mechanism.
Yeah, but I would guarantee that I'm absolutely eat up with it. Like, guarantee that I would, because like I've said, like, I've seen just such changes in my personality, from when I was 18 years old, getting to college, and I can remember my first concussion, like my actual legit concussion, to where it's a week later and I can still barely remember my own name or know where I'm at, or like know my surroundings, or you feel like you're in a fog, or different things like that. And I was never the smartest player when it comes to listening to professional advice and the doctors and everything like that. Like, would cheat concussion tests, just to be out there with my teammates. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, just to be a macho man and, anything like that. It was just, that's literally the mindset that I had, was that I'm willing to put my life and my health on the line to be able to play the sport that has given me so much. And without it, I know that I wouldn't have half the things that I do. And so, but again, I'm an advocate for football. I love football. I think it's a great way for people and kids to channel their inner problems that they have, maybe at home, maybe in their current situation, and look to not only change their lives, but their families' lives, their kids' lives forever, to where they don't have to do that, Because like I was talking about in our group text, like a lot of kids come from situations to where they act like they're not in a situation where they think that, or have the funds to be like, oh, I can be, an astrophysicist one day. But I realize that, I'm fast, I'm athletic, I'm strong, I can move good with the ball in my hands, or I'm good at tackling. Or, and vice versa with basketball or baseball or anything else in general. I'm just talking from football because that's what it did for me. But at the end of the day, a human being's life is way more important than a game. And I think that in the culture that we live in today, we look at athletes especially, as like the modern day gladiators, to where like, back in, ancient Rome and, shit like that, where, the gladiators were out there fighting lions and tigers and shit, or battle to the death and everything. And people, and in my opinion, like I said, I'm not a historian, I'm not a doctor. I'm just going by from, what I've seen throughout history, is that people and human beings are violent in a sense. And I think that's how, you've seen, things develop from the gladiators to, boxing, to, mixed martial arts, to football, to everything like that. Like, people enjoy watching that. And it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So where if we didn't have it, who knows what our basic economy would look like. I mean, it's ridiculous how much money the NFL makes per year. It's ridiculous how much money the NBA makes per year. It's ridiculous of how much money Major League Baseball makes per year. That's why you're able to see guys sign contracts worth $300 million. See guys sign contracts for, $150 million. Whatever the case may be, just because that's how much money is being generated through that sport in particular. But I'll end this with this, and we can have a conversation all we want. But it's sad to see. It's something that I know that nobody would have expected to see. And again, nothing but thoughts and prayers to Damar Hamlin and his family, his friends, his teammates, anyone that's close to him. And I just hope that we could continue the game of football years down the line, but in a way to where we can protect the player at all costs. Now, I know that there's been different rules in place of, roughing the passer, this and that. We may call it soft and, and all that stuff. But, like, we have I fully believe, like, we are so technologically advanced in this world to where, like, there's got to be something to where we can make, a helmet, a set of shoulder pads, a chest plate protector, something to where we still may see a concussion here or there, but not at the rate that we see in today's game. And pray to God we never see anything like we saw on Monday. So, again, thoughts and prayers to Damar Hamlin, Bills Mafia, his family, his friends, his loved ones. Because at the end of the day, man, that's someone's son. That's someone's cousin. That's someone's brother. and it's just trying to do good through the game of football, and it helped so many people and changed so many people's lives for the better. But there's got to be a way to where it doesn't cost your life or your long-term health. That's the way I'll put it. So
that was the most eloquent monologue, and I don't want to tarnish it or beat a dead horse by turning this into a discussion you just said everything that needs to be said. That would rival how good of a job Brian Clark did the night that it happened and in the days since. So well put. I applaud you for that. That's a tough thing to offload, especially something that's so close to you.
Yeah, you just never thought that you would see something like that.
That's what I was going to follow up with. So one thing you said that stuck out to me, and I'm kind of echoing you and what Ryan said. He spent a month in a hospital bed and almost was paralyzed as well. Referring to Ryan Clark, who was a Steelers, injured playing for the Steelers.
One of the most
years ago.
Again, too, one of the most hard-hitting safeties of all time.
Yeah, and
of all time.
And he was very passionate about the fact that we're prepared. Echoing what you said again, we're prepared when we lace up every night to, break a finger, risk a knee injury, even a concussion in some cases. But resuscitating somebody, shocking their heart back into rhythm, literally starting their heart again on a football field is not part of that equation. That's not something that that crosses your mind. And he even said at 24 years old, which is, how old Damar is, he didn't know he could die. That's not something that you're asked to do when you lace up, when you put on those shoulder pads, when you pull that helmet on. That's not a challenge that you expect to have to face. And it sucks. And Brandon made this point in our group message that sometimes when these kind of things happen, everybody takes a step back and realizes these athletes are more than an athlete. They're a human being. It's more than winning. It's more than the game of football. As a society, we tend to forget that. We're sitting back here like in the gladiator days. Entertain me. Entertain me. We're paying you all this money. Go out and do it. I can't believe you dropped this pass. I can't believe you lost me.
And then you got people in the stands that are literally looking at these guys as pawns.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they have money on this game.
Yeah,
and they have the over-under of, how many yards this guy's going to have. You got fantasy.
That's what I was getting at.
You got all these things and different things like that to where, it's like, dude, it's serious. Don't get me wrong.
Mm.
But it's not that serious.
Yeah, it's that.
That's why I've never gambled. I probably never will, especially sports gambling. I'll play a hand of blackjack every once in a while, but I just don't play fantasy football because at the end of the day, that guy or whoever's on your team, on your fantasy team, or whoever you're placing a stupid bet on so you can win money for free because X, Y, or Z. I'm not going to get into why people gamble or anything like that, but that's a human being out there, brother. He bleeds the same as you do. His heart beats the same as you do. He breathes the same air as you do. And that's one of the things why I do off season. Is because I want to show people that they're more than just an athlete. That's one of the things why I have a local TV segment where I talk to high school kids that do great things outside of their sport because not everybody's going to make it to the NFL. Not everybody's going to make it to the NBA or Major League Baseball. And at the end of the day, it's a game, dude. It's a game the same way you would play checkers. Checkers is a game. Fucking, arcades are games. This one is a game, but it's just involving with people, and people are the pawns that they're using. And I understand they are getting paid, like I said, a king's salary. I get that. And the people that are in the stands aren't getting paid that. Like, I understand that. The people that go to those games, and I'm not shitting on fans whatsoever, because without it, we wouldn't have sports in general, because those are 9-to-5, hardworking, blue-collar people that spend their hard-earned money to go be entertained. I get that aspect. I completely understand it. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that guy is literally, he's not going out there to give 70%, 80%. He's literally going out there to give literally everything that he has and more. And even like Ryan Clark said, you are mentally prepared to go out there and tell yourself, I'm willing to do anything in my power to win this game. I'm willing to break a finger. If I got to break a leg, I'll break a leg. If I got to get a concussion, I'll get a concussion. And you tell yourself, we hype ourselves up by saying, if I got to die, I'll die on this field. But nobody wants to die out there on that field. Nobody in the right common sense would literally just go out there and say, and actually feel that they are willing to die until they're put in that situation to where you have a cardiac arrest episode on the field and you're having to have your heart be shot back into rhythm, or you take a blow to where in the head to where your brain could literally just shut off and be a vegetable for the rest of your life. We have this macho mentality, and here's the thing: you have to have it. You have to have that mentality to go out there, because somebody else is going to have that mentality. It's almost kill or be killed, in a sense.
Well, that's. Can they hear you?
Probably not.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
But my thing is, if you both agreed maybe not to go to that extent, then you wouldn't have to have that mentality, right?
Yeah, but then where do you draw that line?
I understand. But I'm saying, you literally, is it the healthiest thing to have? No. But that's what the game is.
Well, here's the thing, right? You go into the practice facility, the weight room, the training facility, all this stuff. You're the kitchen. I mean, you're literally eating, training, lifting, sweating to be the biggest, strongest, baddest son of a bitch out there, right? So is the other guy. And when you walked in that locker room at the collegiate level, high school level, all the way up to pro, you know what you're sacrificing. You know that I might get hurt, right? I might not be able to play the next game. It might be the end of my career. You know that. And that's tough to accept. And when it happens, we're all thoughts and prayers to that player too. Somebody tears an ACL, thoughts and prayers to him, get back, get healthy, whatever. You start to flirt with the line with concussions, because now you're talking about CTE and what things that could affect you moving forward. That's where it gets a little dicey, because you're talking about your mental health, your long-term health,
your brain,
your ability to live life.
That literally triggers everything.
Yeah, and then you throw into the equation something like this, your heart actually stopping, and it was a freak thing, right? From what I've read, as you say, not a cardiologist. From what I've read, it was, I can't remember the word that they used for this exact situation, but it's essentially getting hit in the heart, in the chest, at the exact right moment in your heart's cycle. Rhythmic cycle.
In between beats.
Yeah. And so it's a rarity that's happened. I mean, we've seen that play a million times and no issue.
Literally, routine as routine gets.
Just a freak situation like that, and all of a sudden, it's life or death, literally. The only team that anybody was pulling for after that hit was UC Medical, to make sure that he's, and they did a phenomenal job, and that's a phenomenal hospital. But resuscitating him on the field, getting him to the hospital, and doing what they've had to do to maintain. And from my understanding, from my medical professional friends who I've talked to about this, they intentionally sedate him when they put him on oxygen, and in order to study the brain for 24 hours before they before they wake him up, basically. So I think today is when we'll start to hear some better news or more
Well, like
news.
I said today, when I was working out, it came out
They'd reduced him to 50%
they'd reduced
oxygen.
to 50%. He's breathing on his own 50%. Half of it's coming from the oxygen machine, and it's. But man, it's like it honestly makes you think about like everything else in life. You know, what's important, what's not important. And I was listening to, Booger McFarland and everybody talking about that. And like you were saying, like people, we have these rivalries, we have guys on the field that, we particularly like or don't like. All that shit gets thrown out the window when something like this happens. And I just wish that there was more. I just wish that it doesn't have to come to a tragedy for people to understand that. And that's not only in sports, but in life in general. So where like, fuck it, I'll go ahead and say this. Nobody gave a shit about Eastern Kentucky until we had a tragic flood come through. Nobody gave a shit about Mayfield, Western Kentucky until a rapid tornado came through and almost killed everybody and destroyed lives, destroyed livelihoods. Like, I just don't understand why it takes a tragedy in anything for people to come together and be like, okay, this is legit. Like, this is serious. Like, we should probably, not be such fucking dickheads to each other all the time. Yeah. And we pick and choose what we get pissed off about. We pick and choose what's right, what's wrong, and all this different shit. I'm not going down that rabbit hole because we're here to talk about a serious situation, but it doesn't need to come to a young man who's a year younger than me almost losing his fucking life out there on that football field. It shouldn't ever come to that. And I understand it's money. Money is the root of all evil. It's how much these guys are getting paid. It's how much the league's making. It's how much the owners are making. How much sports gambling in general is, being thrown into our economy. I'll just never, and that's, like I said, I'll never understand why that's so important when this guy has a mom and dad that loves and cares about him, that watched him since he was in diapers grow up, wanted to be a football player with the excitement in his eyes every time he stepped on the field. And I can't only imagine the pain that they're feeling, that they're going through. And to be quite honest with you, I can only imagine, let's not forget about T. Higgins. Mm-hmm. He had nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. I was reading something today on Twitter because obviously, everybody on Twitter is, they're like a mob mentality now to where they're like, oh, T. Higgins shouldn't have lowered his shoulder. He shouldn't have done this. He's like, do you not think T. Higgins is sitting there feeling like he almost ended a man's life out there on a football field? Yeah, see, I was going to kind of lead into that a little bit. I've seen a lot of Bengals fans tweeting at T. Higgins saying, don't feel guilty or anything. Like, I get the sentiment behind it, but like anybody in their right mind that thinks to point blame at anyone for this freak accident is a complete idiot. A dipshit. I mean, that I understand. Don't get me wrong. If it was me that hit him, I would feel guilt. Like, I'm not naive enough to believe that I wouldn't feel some type of like heavy, somber, cloud over me for being involved in that. But nothing about what he did was wrong or dirty or anything else. And even if it had been dirty plays happen all the time. Bad hits happen all the time. Like that, I still wouldn't blame him. Like his heart stopped. Like that is not a physical act that you can cause someone, like unless you poison them or whatever. Like that physical act on the field, he cannot be responsible for that situation and should not feel that way. No. But I get how he's gonna, have a personal weight that he's got to get off of his shoulders. And so, obviously prayers to him and everybody else. But the way that the fan bases have come together, Cincinnati is one of the most ruthless fan bases in the league. And immediately everybody's, dropping to their knees. Like I even looked at,
I was watching in this disgusting world we live in these days. Everybody wants to get their phone out and capture the moments, people's heartache and everything else. Very few people really had their phones out like during those moments. There was a lot of people that were praying. There's a lot of people that had their arms around each other. You know, Bengals fans have their arms around Bills fans in the stands. It's one of those moments that just like brings everybody together. And like we've both, like Brandon said in the group message, like you've reiterated today, it sucks that we live in a society where it takes tragedy to unite us and remind us why we should, you know, love each other. You know, I live by a moral compass that, you know, I believe everything happens for a reason, and I believe in treating others how you want to be treated. And this goes from something as serious of a tragedy like this to, you know, a guy that I pass on the street. I'm always gonna, you don't know what anybody's going through. Like the fact that his family is dealing with this is so public that they're going to be treated, you know, extra kindly and differently by everybody that they run into over the next several weeks or months or however long it takes before people forget about this and move on to the next thing.
And that's the disgusting part. And that's what I'm saying. That's the most disgusting part.
That's the worst part
about this is that, like, hoping and praying to God that he pulls through. People are going to go on about their lives like it never happened.
I feel like they already have.
But that's what I'm saying. So
It's not even on there anymore.
my point is though,
Yesterday,
like
everything was.
my hope for society, which seems further and further distant as, you know, we move on down the line here, is that people would just give a shit about everybody else. Like, just treat others how you want to be treated, and the world wouldn't be such a disgusting place.
Get love.
And you know, I don't want to use this tragedy as a soapbox to preach my belief system, but like care about that. Like when you're in UK practice, right? You can get pissed off and want to tear the guy across from you's head off in practice. And the second practice ends, you're hugging each other, dabbing each other up. It's a brotherhood. It's a building moment. You see and respect what they're putting out,
because they're putting the same.
Exactly.
They're putting the same thing on the line as you are.
Exactly.
It's a mutual respect thing. Because like I've had fist fights with dudes in practice that I love. Like,
yeah, and
what I genuinely love.
Yeah,
and
friendships same way.
Yeah, and we go out there and like we get in fist fights out there on the field. As soon as that's over, we're in the locker room dapping up. Hey, bro. You know, we're good.
It's literally, it's something that you learn through friendships. It's something you learn through relationships. It's something you learn through parenthood. It's something you learn through being a teammate in the locker room with somebody. And quite frankly, you know, we having had, you know, being kind of at that inner circle of athletics, know that a lot of the players on opposing teams feel that way about each other. Like, you might appear to be huge rivals on the field, but the second the game ends, they're the first ones embracing when the clock expires.
Hey, honest to God, it's like you come here like, hey, bro, I'm glad we survived that shit.
Yeah, it's a mutual respect.
I'm glad you got out unscathed. I got out unscathed. Like, you know, good luck to you. You know, and that's one of the biggest things. That's like when you dap somebody up out there off the field, one of the last things that everybody says is stay healthy. Yeah,
it's a echo or a sentiment that's echoed throughout athletics, even at the highest level. It fails to transcend to the fan bases. Like, you don't see that same kind of thing.
That's why I wish that the world had more of a locker room mentality, you know, or a sense of a locker room. Now, I understand that, you know, that's not humanly possible because of, you know, some people, you know, just aren't into sports. Like, I get that. That's fine. But from a respect standpoint, from a brotherhood standpoint, to where at the end of the day, we're all on the same team, man.
Yeah. I certainly don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but that's like one of the biggest things we deal with as a society when it comes to democracy and politics and things. Like, you always see the other as an enemy. And part of that is the way that this country is built. I mean, the divide is intentional, right? Like, we recognize that, but we still fail to respect someone else's opinion. And it's anyway, don't want to go down that path. But point is, moments like this kind of remind us what's important in life, and be your brother's keeper, love thy neighbor, the whole nine. You know, prayers up to Damar and his family. His foundation now, by the way, as of half an hour ago, is over. What did you say?
Over $3 million.
Over 6.5. as of 30 minutes ago.
And the goal was only $2,500.
$2,500. He's at $6.5 million.
That gives me some sort of hope for society, man. It
Yeah,
really does.
but that's the thing, like, right? Like, it takes a tragedy striking like this for everybody to be like, oh, I want to help. How can I help? Well, the immediate way you can help, like, they see, oh, well, he's got a toy drive. We'll give to his foundation. And that sparks everybody giving. But when the goal was $2,500, I don't know if he met that goal or not, but the goal was $2,500. This is a professional football player that had to set a goal of a minimum of a small amount of $2,500 because there's that much of a lack of awareness in society to realize that others, kind of reach your hand back and help. So anyway, I don't want to get on a soapbox and distract from what's at hand here. The point is, this is a 24-year-old kid that's getting to live out his dream. Granted, your point of making a king's salary, absolutely. But don't forget what he's being asked to do in exchange for that.
Oh, I know.
And
I'm not saying that at all, because, like, for guys to go out there and literally put their lives on the line, they should be getting compensated, equal to what they're putting on the line.
Well, but look at it from a different perspective too, right? If this was a common occurrence, if this wasn't such a rarity, and you knew, that playing professional football came with a consequence of potentially having your heart stopped on any given hit, I don't think that the NFL would even be legal, right? Like,
no,
that, like, it's pretty. This is not because it was on a football field. Like, they even had to test and make sure he didn't have pre-existing heart conditions.
Yeah.
Like, this is a very
here's the
rare
thing, like,
situation.
The NFL training staff are some of the best in the world at what they do. And so for something like that to happen that freakishly, like you're saying, having to test for underlying conditions and things like that, you just never thought that you would see something like that happen, not only in sports in general, but especially football.
Yeah.
Like I said, we'll get to different topics, because I know we've talked about this for a minute now, but it's deserving to talk about it because people, like I've said, just look at athletes as pawns, man. They really do. And
I love that everybody and their mother who's spoke on this topic, whether it's a national television show or a podcast or even the live commentators who did a phenomenal job in an impossible situation when covering that game, have echoed this as well. But the players and the coaches, when they said, 5 minutes to warm back up, like, the NFL, was trying to do, like, it's a split second decision. Like, I get they should have just been like, we can't play, but they were like, all right, how are we going to figure our way through this? It's prime time. Like, there's
no.
But just, respect the fact that, like, even Monday Night Football, like, the business of the NFL has obligations to meet contractually with advertising and all these other things that are all components going into this. And the coaches and the athletes just were like, we're not fucking playing.
No,
No.
Fuck you, we're not playing.
So credit to them. I'm not discrediting any of the higher ups. Like, I don't think Roger Goodell was like, no, play that game. I'm not saying that. I am saying, though, that all of that at a given, like, everybody just got together and was like, look, there are more important things than any of this shit right now.
And Skip Bayless, you're a fucking clown.
Yeah, I don't even want to go down that. I don't even want to go into that rabbit hole.
But thoughts and prayers to
him, prayers to his family.
Hamlin.
Shout out to athletes. You hear this all the time in, like, retirement speeches and Hall of Fame inductee speeches and things, like, thank you to my teammates and coaches and all that. But they always recognize the staff, the trainers, the medical personnel that are on the team, that travel with the team, that are at the facilities and all those things. That was on unbelievable professional display on Monday night. They literally saved his life, got him to...
Still fighting for his life.
Yeah, well, but they saved him on the field. They literally, started his heart again, got him, made the right decisions, and got him to a phenomenal medical facility at UC, and, are taking good care of him. And those people deserve to be recognized for what they do every day.
Yeah,
so...
I still think it's sad, though, that it comes to almost death to start carrying.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But, I mean, you have two at the beginning of the season. You have some of these guys. I remember, I can't think of his name, but there's Pittsburgh Steelers that used
Yeah,
Ryan Shazier. Ryan Shazier.
Like, Cincinnati's, like, cursed.
Oh.
Yeah, you have Ryan Shazier who couldn't walk and all sorts of stuff, right?
No, he's still fighting to walk.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, why is that acceptable?
It's not.
We just go, well, they're still alive, so this is okay.
It's not acceptable.
But yes, it is.
But it.
Because we kept playing the game and this didn't happen.
I know, but that's the thing I mean, what's sad and scary is this too will pass. This too will fall to the wayside eventually.
See, I agree with you, but that always feels like, and I'm not saying this is what you were doing, but we say those things because I feel in some way that we put it on other people to keep us going.
I agree. So
the individual responsibility to remember this for ourselves.
So what? Yes, I agree with you. So what do we like? Seriously, what do we do to? I mean, how do you?
Your dollars are the biggest speaker. Watch it. Don't subscribe to it.
So you think the problem is the NFL?
It's the game, right?
I'm asking.
No, I mean I don't know where it starts. I think everybody plays a role.
Yeah.
Like you said, these kids, they're kids. They're pawns.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're just out there, whatever. You got these people mindlessly spending hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in the Super Bowl or whatever, just hoping God to win something.
Yeah.
Back in these people's real life.
Yeah.
Greed.
So obviously there's that. There's the players that demand higher and higher salaries, and I get it. It's competition for who's going to pay the highest. Like, why wouldn't you do that, right? You got the league who demands that they continue to get better and better because they're always constantly under threat. People are watching this other sport, not ours. We got to do things to make sure they stay.
Advertising and all this different stuff.
Everybody has a role to play.
My biggest thing, I'll bring it down to one word, and I'm stealing this from 1923, but it really did resonate with me. By the way, if you guys haven't watched that, pretty damn good episode so far. Greed
Money
will be the thing that kills us all.
It's money. The answer to your question is money.
Greed.
There have been plenty of people that for decades have been talking about this stuff, CTE and everything.
And guess what? It's a bigger, thriving business today than it was a decade ago by unbelievable margins.
Substantial amounts.
This is like people right now feel safety in being emotional and talking about this because other people are doing it. But you're soft and you're stupid and you're all sorts of not.
I agree totally with you.
If you say it away from a situation.
I 100% agree.
Which I think is sad.
It is.
So that's why it doesn't happen because there's such a macho, to use your word, there's such a macho mentality around the sport. Even the fans have to be macho.
Yeah. So this is what I was getting at when I got distracted a second ago. I want to finish up with this point and then we can move on.
And I'm sorry, I know they can't hear me. I didn't have time to set up the mic.
You're good.
They might be able to catch me.
We'll jack up your audio hopefully. But what I was getting at, you're lifting and eating and working out and making your body the best physical specimen that it could possibly be to put out there and do your job the best you can. And all that is awesome, right? Like as an athlete, as a former athlete, even though, I hung up my football cleats in 7th grade, my hands were stupid though. God, but I understand, respect and even, enjoy that process and that part of the game, that part of challenging yourself to literally be, the biggest, baddest son of a bitch that steps out there, right? Like that's part of it. And the scary, paralyzing thing about that is, like I said, everybody else, the guy across from you is doing the same thing. That doesn't protect your organs, your brain, your heart. Doesn't protect that. Nope. It might mean that you can lay a hit harder than the guy across from you, that you might win the physical battle, you might win the tug of war. You talk all the time about, you always talk about the battles though. You win your battle, we win the war. All that's great, but that's in the name of the football, in the name of winning, in the name of the game, right? Respectable, love it. It's what gets us up in the morning and makes us want to go out and do it. But doesn't matter how big and strong you are. Like, in fact, the bigger and stronger you are, the more of a, force that it creates. Like your brain is literally sloshing around in your skull. Like you can be a bigger, stronger dude. You go lay a hit on somebody, your brain is still bouncing around inside your skull. Your organs are still being jarred around. Like,
So why are we still so afraid of flag football? What if they? If that
Nobody would watch it.
Why?
Because, like I said,
had this conversation about how we understand how it's dangerous.
I know, but at the end of the day, like what I was saying is that we understand what you sign up for, but and like I was saying, like I said, as far as technologically advanced as we are, we have AI, we have all this great technology through medical experts, different things like that, to where there has to be something to where we can make a helmet, or there has to be something where we can make a set of shoulder pads.
We just need some Iron Man
Well, I even brought
fits.
It up in one of the earlier episodes of like, why does it make sense that we have preseason practice or something like that?
Well,
with the extra thing on top, I forget what the hell it's
that's I don't even know.
It's a cushion. It's literally a
but
cushion.
it literally only reduces it by like 10%.
I know, but 10% is better than 0.
I know.
It doesn't look cool. It doesn't look cool.
Okay.
But that's why you're seeing. But
You have to actually.
But that's why you're seeing. But that's why. Okay, so from someone who has been in the game and seen it evolve. So like my freshman year on campus was the last year of legit two-a-days. So where you go out in the morning in full pads and you fucking bust heads. Then you go take a nap, you eat, you come back, and you go fucking bust heads again. They're probably sitting there saying like, "Oh, we've been doing this since the 1960s. This shit would work." Well, we kind of figured out that guys are dying of heat stroke. They're dying of brain-related injuries. Maybe we should tone it back just a little bit. Then it gets progressed to, okay, you can have two-a-days, but you can only have one full padded practice. Then now you're seeing a lot of guys to where they can't even go full contact, where they have like these like remote robotic tackling dummies to where you're doing that. Like, but that's what I'm getting at is that human beings being violent in nature throughout our entire existence, that sells, and it goes back to money. Nobody wants to, like, as obvious as it is, nobody's going to see a flag. Nobody wants to watch to play a flag football game. Like that's basically what the Pro Bowl was. And they got rid of the Pro Bowl because nobody would watch it because it wasn't physical enough. Guys were just out there, just going through the motions, different things like that. And I completely get it. What's
the most popular sports in the United States?
Football, boxing, football, UFC.
Literally football, basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, and boxing. Nobody watches bowling. Nobody watches curling. Nobody watches
golf.
Golf's got a following, right? It's obviously done extremely well, but it's not.
Parker. No disrespect, Parker.
We haven't had a
But
world in 100 years without some of these sports.
Or any.
The options.
Or
okay, then you don't have. Like I said, it's a multi. I know, but I'm saying it's such a multi-trillion-dollar industry to where if you remove that, you're seeing a worse economy than what we already are in.
But are you?
Hands down.
But
You're
that money,
okay. So
though.
that
Not this neighborhood.
no, it's not. It's not this name.
They can't even pay for it in here to do it. You got to get taxes.
Here. This is. I'm not trying. I certainly don't want to. Like we could talk for hours on this, but think about what the amount of people and industries and businesses that go away that go away or lose money. If let's just say that the outcome was Roger Goodell came out tomorrow and was like, we're doing away with the NFL. Football is no more. It's illegal. No middle school ball, no high school ball, no college ball, no NFL. It's gone. It's too dangerous. It's done, right? Television contracts, advertising dollars, jersey sales, NIL money,
Yeah, but when you talk about,
scholarship money.
no, but when you talk about like the economy, I understand that like people go to Mercedes-Benz Dome, people are employed there that live there locally, that they're the janitors or the whatever the concessions. Like I get there are jobs there, and I get the hospitality component of it too. People travel to Atlanta to go sleep in a hotel, and they go to the aquarium, they go to the Coke thing. Right?
They go to the restaurants, they go to the bars, they go to the MGM Grand to bet.
All of those things are minute in comparison to the television and advertising contracts and ticket sales.
That's what I'm saying, because
and TV contracts.
I get that, but those things don't touch the average American.
But those people won't give it up. Those people, those powers that be, will never
But that's why I'm
let
saying
that go.
This is one of those, like, could be pivotal moments, won't be, most likely. But it could be one of those moments where the people start demanding, like, no, we're not going to be okay with that.
It wouldn't be the people. It would have to be the league.
No,
It'd have to be the players.
The league's going to do whatever the people want. The people don't sit back and just go, we'll do what the league wants.
How are you? But okay,
How
then.
many coaches have gotten fired because the people?
Okay, but
You know what I mean?
yeah, but how are you going to convince us a population of however many million of
Someone
people?
almost dies on the field in front of you. That's what I'm saying.
But unfortunately enough, that's not going to be enough.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not going to be enough.
And all these same people
Because-
that are saying that they care about him
I know.
are going to buy tickets for next week's game.
Yeah,
I know, because at the end of the day, like I've said 3 times on this episode, is that humans in nature are violent and they are drawn toward violence.
I want to excuse. I follow your point, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I want to give a little bit of an excuse. This is a very extreme outlier. I mean, very extreme, right? Like that. This could have happened.
If you put death as the only extreme outlier.
Correct. Yes. If the issue, hang on. If the issue is if we start averaging, like, let's say that we're, as the bigger and stronger that the common athlete gets, let's say that we're averaging, 50 concussions a season or so in the NFL. I don't even know what
that's
normal
just
is.
practice.
That's what I'm saying. I don't even know what normal is. That number sounds astronomical, and it's probably more than that on average. Like, that's probably a silly low number. But let's say that the number becomes enough of an issue that we're like, okay, this is clearly tied to football. We have to change this. I can understand how things will start to change. This single outlier, is not going to change because it was a routine hit. It was a bizarre, unusual situation that likely will never happen again. Hopefully it doesn't. But for that reason, it won't change.
I think the method in which we got there is the outlier. I think a family's life, a family almost changed forever, and still very well could. You never know what happens.
I mean, they're changed forever regardless of the outcome.
Right. But it just comes down to this whole. I think really at the end of the day, I don't think this is going to sound maybe very callous, but I'm going to say it. I think most of the people that tweeted about it yesterday don't care.
Mm-hmm.
At the heart of hearts, I don't think maybe most is too broad. I think many people participated because, it was trending and it's the thing in the moment.
Yeah.
Easier thing to tweet about.
And right now, he's nowhere in the trending list.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you really cared, it'd still be up there. I mean, imagine if something even more horrific that affected more people happened, it would still be there, right?
That same thing happened. I mean, look at just for the sake of defending the society, or not defending the society here, but saying it's not football, right? Football's not the problem. Look at the 4 Idaho kids that got killed on campus by that psychopath that just got arrested on Friday. It was in the news cycle for 48 hours when they found the bodies, and it was in the news cycle for 48 hours when they arrested him on Friday. And now, crickets. It'll be in the news cycle in 10 days when they arraign him in Idaho, because they're going to release the information about that the affidavit lists as what the probable cause was to make the arrest. It'll be in the news cycle again then. It'll be in the news cycle the day of the trial. But other than that, nobody gives a shit, because they're all caught up in their own little problems in their own world. That it's not to your point. I get it.
There's still a mass population that cares about the Second Amendment in both directions.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't go away. Are they actively prioritizing that in their daily thinking between mass shootings? No, but I don't think it goes away. I think something like this goes away because you're not constantly thinking about football player time.
Yeah, my only defense for society here is this is an outlier. It literally, that same hit could happen to every other player in the league and him at any other minute second in his rhythmic cycle, and it wouldn't have had an issue like this. So that I understand. However, to CTE, concussions, and all those things, that is a real problem that exists in the league that is 100% to blame on the game. And that is more of a reason to point to if you're going to make changes in my mind than this unique circumstance. Just to
say because it happens more often than what we've seen last night.
Yeah.
But to end
it will happen. There will be a concussion that someone misses a game in the postseason 100% without a doubt. This hopefully never happens again. Just saying.
And so I'm just going to end this on a good note, and then we'll go into another topic of conversation. 44 minutes ago, one of the local news stations tweeted, "Great update. Doctors told the family of Damar Hamlin that he is headed in the right direction and are very confident he will overcome in his recovery."
Awesome.
So
let me ask you this to end on, because this is a good transition out of this. And I want to preface this by, this is not in the tone of Skip Bayless at all. But if you are a teammate of his, if you're another player in the league, or even, quite frankly, if you're playing in the national championship game for Georgia or TCU, right? How do you lace back up the next game? Like, how do you
your program and you're wired to do it.
I'm saying, how do you, you're very emotionally invested in this conversation. Like, you got teary-eyed talking about this, right? And it's something that literally, as we've learned, put your life on the line many times when you've laced up and gone out and played. And, how do you do it? The scariest possession or the scariest snap in football is going to happen this weekend when the first team snaps the ball for the first time after this happened. How do we move past this? How do his teammates move past it? Does he play again? Like, if he's 100% clear, do you, to your point, right? We need to do something about this, right? How? What do we do? Like, what do you do? When does do the games go on as scheduled this weekend? Yes, they will. They'll happen. So,
how do you do it? Like I said, from the moment that you start playing this game, you understand risks. You understand that there is a likelihood of you going out there and breaking a bone, tearing a ligament, becoming fucking paralyzed. As scary as that is. But I can honestly say, from my perspective of how I played the game, and I'm sure everybody's different, but that never actually crossed my mind once you step across those white lines.
So
that never actually, because like a lot of guys, like, you get nervous, and a big saying is, I just gotta get that first hit out of the way and I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, you hear a lot of guys say that. That's how I was. Like, to be quiet, and I'll be mad if I say this, there was times I was scared to fucking death out there at times. Like, because I always, like, when I was a kid, so when I was joking around with my dad about this over Christmas, but I was also kind of like, it was kind of fucked up. But, I was, bigger than most kids growing up. So when I was in third grade, I was playing 5th and 6th grade football. When I was 7 years old, I was playing 10, 11, 12-year-old baseball. When I was, going back to my basketball days here, Todd, 7th grader, playing high school basketball. But when it comes to the game of football, like, I was sitting there thinking, like, I was like, like that. I actually told him, I was like, I was scared to death out there at times. And he goes, but it got you ready, didn't it? And I was like, yeah, it did. But getting back to my point of, and I'm answering your question. You just, and I can't put myself in this position, because honest to God, the only time I've ever been like, oh shit, this could happen to me. One of my teammates, my freshman year, we were in fall practice. Horrific leg injury. Remember the Ware kid from Louisville? Same exact thing. Ball goes up. I'm in my zone. Ball gets thrown behind me. He comes across, makes a jump catch, comes down, and you just instantly start hearing him screaming. Walk up there, and I still remember this day. The bone of his leg is literally sticking this far out of his fucking skin. And that was one of the only moments where I was like, holy shit, like that could happen to me at any given moment. Like I've had my ankle literally snap. I got a plate and 7.5 screws in there right now because I took a shot in high school where my fucking leg was in a shape of a W when you looked on a fucking x-ray screen. I had to go into like emergency surgery type shit. You're programmed to understand that it's almost like you sign a life contract, like your life, when you step across those white lines. And your brothers are relying on you. All your teammates are relying on you, and they feel the same way about themselves because they feel like you're relying on them as well. But how do you do it? You just do it. And I know that's cliche and not really much of an answer, but literally you just do it.
Well, here's what I'm getting at. First off, with the Kevin Ware injury and the Paul George injury and what's the kid's name from Boston? Parker. What's the kid's name from Boston? Broke his leg when he was playing for the Celtics. Gordon Hayward. When those 3 injuries happened, I didn't play ball for a week or two because you're shook, right? I even walked the stairs gingerly after seeing those injuries. All 3 of them, like crazy leg injuries. I even walked the stairs gingerly, seriously. But eventually, I started, floating back down the stairs in sock feet. I started playing pickup ball again. I started making more reckless plays again, attacking in the paint when it's a little too crowded in there for comfort. You're always a little bit hesitant when getting back out there, but then you get that first hit out of the way and you shake it off. I get that. Here's what I'm asking. Here's what I'm getting at. To back up your point, right? Like, what do we do to change it? And your point, J.J. Watt's retiring at the end of this year. Why? Why is he retiring?
Because he's done his job and he wants to be a dad.
He doesn't want to risk all this.
And he realizes that I've dedicated my life to this. I've put my body through living hell. I've put my mental state through living hell.
But it came out after the concussion stuff this year, right? Like it weighed into it. He talked about it in an interview and things, right?
And he wants to be there for his kid.
Yeah, and he wants to be able to walk and play sports with his kids when he's older. He didn't want to have to be physically damaged from the time he's put into this league and all that it's taken from him. It's given him a lot, but it's taken a lot too, right? Guess what? I bet he plays this weekend.
He's going to play. And then you know what? He's going to play with his fucking hair on fire.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. So the reason it won't change is because of everything all of those things combined. Like, it will pass the news cycle, unfortunately, and hopefully, again, that this type of unique situation doesn't happen again. But we just need to learn something from it every time that there's an issue, every time that there's something that all these events that bring society together, whether it's 9/11 or, it doesn't matter what it is. Let's just remember how we feel in those moments and how we treat each other and go about every day that way. That's what we can take from it.
Do you think my question and maybe others that were asking similar questions after something like this, which is such a freak accident, I don't know if I'm going to ask this correctly or if it'll make sense, but you remember, I don't know why this is the comparison I came up with, but Carrie Strug, you remember her, the gymnast in like 96?
Oh, when she got like her...
When she like broke her ankle on the ball.
Kept going?
And she kept going anyway.
I don't remember that.
I do.
On only one ankle.
I do.
Like, we didn't quit doing stuff in gymnastics because the one freak time that she landed destroyed her ankle.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's like, what is the measurement?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And I know that an ankle is not cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
But you get the comparison.
Here's what I think we can take from this. Bottom line, right? Football's not going anywhere. If it does, it won't be on the backs of an injury like this. It'll be on the backs of what it's doing to the human brain, right? It's going to be something that we can point to as this is caused by this.
We already have that science.
I know, but it's
making the argument.
I know. So I'm saying I will back every change that the NFL and the NFLPA and everybody decides to make as far as protecting the health of the athletes. I think this is an outlier and doesn't necessarily deserve to be lumped into that category. So I'm with you and I back all of that. What I want society to take from this is the same thing that they take from other extreme horrific events, whether it's the loss of life from, a gun violence or a terrorism situation or, disease like the pandemic and everything. I just want people to treat their neighbor the way that they want to be treated. And we get to see glimpses of it. We get to see glimpses of humanity in these types of situations. And I feel like the world's getting further and further away from those things. And it just sucks that it takes reminders like this to remember what human nature should feel like.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, because everybody has a different idea for what the right thing is, right? We all have different tolerances for violence or financial situations or whatever. So it's not like we're going to have one person that gets to choose any of this stuff, whether it's politics or sports or something else, right?
No, but
So we have to somehow collectively feel it together. And yeah, I don't know if you can ever really forecast what that moment's going to be, you know?
unfortunately,
Do you think, to bring it back here specifically though, do you think it becomes like the players at the end of the day?
Yes.
The Players Association is
the NFLPA.
what really stands up and says we're not doing this.
The NFLPA is the only group that can change this. The only one, in my opinion. I don't even think it's an opinion. I think it's a fact.
That's a fact.
This society.
They say, well, I'm not doing it anymore because here's all the evidence that CTE does X, Y, and Z. We're not coming out here to do this anymore. How do you think fans react to?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how they react.
I'm just asking. Like, I know it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, the people that want to play aren't going to be on the field.
Yeah.
So it's okay, right? But I get it. I'm just asking, how do you think like it's? Do you think fans go, oh, okay, fine?
I think.
Because it's the players.
Yes, I do.
And
Yeah, I do.
not administrators and something.
Yes, I do. I think it would be much more well received. Yeah, and I think it would force the NFL and the regulating bodies that decide on the legality of those things to change whatever needs to be changed to meet the expectations that the players expect and or demand in order to continue to, quite frankly, make their money.
But here's one of the craziest things, and I'll leave it with this. Even after the concussions and things that I've went through, and like I said, I've explained of what it's done to me personally. If a team called me tomorrow
You'd go.
and said, we need a linebacker this week, give me a ticket. Let's go. Let's strap it up.
You'd walk there.
Just because that's how much love you have for the game in itself.
So it's not money if they paid you $0.
If they gave me, if they said, okay, you have a chance to start tomorrow, and we're going to pay you way under league minimum, I'm like, cool, let's get it. Because I know.
Is it because of the game, or is it because of the stardom or the?
No, it's because of the game, and I know that if I go out there and have a good game, then somebody else is going to be like, oh, okay, this kid may have got signed to one game, but he had 8-9 tackles, had a tackle for a loss, he had a PBU, played pretty damn good. Okay, let's re-sign him next year. I mean, that's literally like how much I love and miss the game. And honest to God, I miss my brothers more than anything. Like, I miss my teammates and that locker room brotherhood mentality like we've talked about, because it's not anywhere else in the world. You can only experience it then and there. And
All right, fine. We'll start a flag football team.
no, because here's the thing, and this may sound crazy.
We need violence.
That's what I'm saying. This may sound crazy, and for other people, people already think I'm crazy. That's fine, but I thoroughly enjoyed going to battle against dudes like that. Like me and Logan Stenberg plays for the Lions. Played offensive guard at UK. We would literally make bets before practice of who was going to get the best of who and when he pulls around. And there would be times when he pulls around and I pull around, and my job was to leverage the football, which meaning to turn it back into the play instead of it bouncing. When you make a play bounce, that's called spilling it. That's called getting underneath the block, because you have your safety help, your corner help, your outside linebacker help there. But if you don't have any help on the outside, you have to turn the play back inside. So if I'm here and he's over here and he's pulling around this way, My job is to get upfield and make sure I bounce him, the block, back to where the running back has no other option but to go back into the defense. And there would be times where we would literally hit helmet to helmet, and it would be like two battering rams just boom and stop each other. So much force at one point of contact where you literally don't move. Fuck, one of my concussions that I got my senior year, my first one, was against South Carolina. Same thing. Tight end came on a swap on a split zone, so the tight end comes across, the line's moving that way. My job was to turn it back into the defense. Me and him hit each other so hard, and it was kind of fucked up, but kind of funny to see on film. So where we both hit and we both instantly drop. Like none of us got hit backwards or anything. Like we both instantly drop. You see us both like slowly get up and go, fuck, dude, good hit. And we fucking knuckled up right there.
I got a concussion at South Carolina sitting on the bench just from the sound of the Gamecock.
Oh, God, I'll give you fucking PTSD.
That is the
Greatest sound, isn't it?
Oh,
it's
no.
second greatest behind. Yeah, I know. It's second behind the Cowbells at Mississippi State. Okay, we're going to transition off this negative topic. I have breaking news, not regarding this, obviously. Marcus responded. I just texted him 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney, and he just responded in all caps, Finding Nemo. It's a real place, too. And I said, these clowns didn't know what it meant. He said, foolish.
I could throw out movie references all day, and I guarantee you wouldn't get any half of them. But
You watched Top Gun and Top Gun 2 for the first time last night. I'm not going to listen to you slander my quoting of movies. You leave me in the trenches taking grenades, John. What's that from?
Wedding Crashers.
Ha! Finally. Okay.
That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It is one. It's the most quotable movie of all time. Oh, it is. Step Brothers is 2.
I was about to say
Top Gun's 3.
Step Brothers is up there.
Step Brothers is 2.
But
You
just
lick this white dog shit.
leading off of the conversation that we had, I know this is the first show of 2023. You know, and some of the things that have happened this past year, you know, one of the things that I want to take away from this past year and move forward with it with this year and throughout the rest of my life is, one, be grateful for life and have gratitude in everything. From the moment that I wake up, that God decided to wake me up that day, and whatever He wants me to go through, let's go through it. You know, whatever, it may be bad, it may be great, but we're gonna go through it. And I'm looking forward to growing as a person. I'm looking forward to putting myself in situations that may feel uncomfortable to me, but being comfortable being uncomfortable. So this show's been great. I've thoroughly enjoyed spending time with you guys, getting to know each one of you guys better, and I'm grateful for the both of you, and I love you guys.
Thank you. You too. And I'm proud of you. You've come a long way since I found you in the trenches
Yeah,
earlier
taking
this
grenades.
year. No, we have grown a lot. Brandon's been an incredible influence on me, and a patient human being in us getting this off the ground. So thank you for all your hard work too. Cash, it's been a pleasure getting to know you over the last year even more. And I look forward to the things we can do this year. We're going to grow the team. We've hinted at moving to a new location. That's coming in the next couple of weeks. Brandon's got a lot of things on the horizon as well. So we're going to have some fun with this show this year. Finish up basketball season, do a little bit of the postseason stuff, do some road shows, that kind of thing.
Some turkey hunting, baby.
Some turkey hunting.
Absolutely got some turkey hunting to do.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun year. And I got a lot of personal goals too, some that I will publicize in the next couple of weeks. Got to keep a little bit of it hush mouth for now.
Yeah.
But it's going to be I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to challenge myself in ways that I haven't in the past. I've got a phenomenal group around me of people that both inspire me and hold me accountable, both of you two included. So I'm really looking forward to a growthful and exciting year. So I'm excited for what's on the horizon, and I wish you luck in your vegan journey this year as well.
No disrespect to vegans, but that'll never happen. That'll never happen. I'm actually going to try to go kill a deer this year, so I have to pay $9 at the grocery store for a pound of ground beef. So
because humans love
meat,
violence. Love thy neighbor. Give me that gun. I'm gonna go shoot this deer.
Hey, for real. if you got a brother, you got friends.
Hug them.
Tell them you love them. I end every conversation I have with most of my guys. Tell them that I love them, because you never know when you're gonna get the last chance to. Every day's a gift, and treat it as such. And so, for everybody that's watching this podcast, I consider you guys my friends. So I love all of you guys that decide to watch this with us and decide to be on this journey with us. So we appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Hope we have some more great stuff coming for you guys coming up in 2023. And yeah, that's it, man. I think I'm done for the day.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We'll see you on the horizon.